Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. And for this, Zeus chained him to a rock where an eagle would eat his liver every day. And every night, the liver would regenerate. Not so, he could heal. So the punishment could continue forever. This is not a story about punishment for theft. This is a story about what happens when you give everything to save others and nothing is left for yourself. The liver regenerates. The energy returns. But only so it can be consumed again. You wake up, you save someone. You are drained, you sleep. You wake up with just enough energy to do it again. And again. And again. Until you realize the cycle is the punishment. And you are both Prometheus and the eagle. The question is not whether you can save others without forgetting yourself. The question is whether saving others is how you forget yourself. Whether the mission you chose is actually the mission you are avoiding. Whether every person you pull from the edge is one more day you do not have to save yourself. In 1951, J.D. Salinger wrote The Catcher in the Rye. The protagonist is Holden Caulfield, 17 years old, expelled from his fourth school, wandering New York City in the middle of a slow mental collapse. And in the middle of this breakdown, he describes a dream, a fantasy that keeps him going. He imagines a field of rye near a cliff, thousands of children playing in the field, and Holden standing at the edge. And when a child runs too close, when they are about to fall, Holden catches them. He is the catcher in the rye, the one who saves children from falling into the abyss. It is a beautiful image. Holden as protector, Holden as savior, Holden standing watch while innocence plays. But here is what makes the image devastating. Holden is the one falling. He is 17 and suicidal. He is alienated and breaking. He cannot save himself. So he dreams of saving others. Specifically, he dreams of saving children, of protecting innocence, because he has lost his own innocence and cannot accept it. His younger brother Ali died of leukemia when Holden was 13. Ali was innocent, Ali was good, Ali was everything pure about childhood, and he died anyway. And Holden has been frozen at that moment ever since, refusing to grow up, refusing to accept that innocence does not last, that good people die, that the world is not fair, and most of all, refusing to accept that he could not save Ali, that there was nothing he could do. So he fantasizes about a cliff where he can save someone, where his presence matters, where being there is enough, where he is not helpless, where innocence does not fall on his watch. It is not about the children, it is about him. It is about rewriting a story where he was powerless. It is about creating a world where saving is possible, where he is not the one who needs saving. This is the mechanics of the compulsive savior. You position yourself at someone else's cliff. You make yourself necessary. You develop skills. You become the person everyone calls. And it works. You save people. You matter. You are needed. But the thing you are really doing, the invisible thing, is standing at that edge so you do not have to stand at your own, because your cliff is still there. Your abyss is still open. You just stopped looking at it. And every person you catch is proof that you do not have to turn around, that you can keep facing outward, that you can spend your entire life preventing other people from falling, and never once deal with the fact that you are in freefall yourself. There was a woman who spent 15 years with someone who needed her. She met him when she was 15. He was the one everyone called troubled, the one who got expelled, the one who fought, the one with damaged hands and a damaged life. And she decided she would save him, that she could love him into stability, that her presence would be enough. And for 15 years, she was his anchor. She managed his anger. She reframed his pain. She held him together. And her own emotions, her own needs, her own pain, she put those away. She said she put them in the closet, that they were not the priority, that what mattered was that he could function, that he could see life the way she saw it, that he could be happy. And it worked. For 15 years, it worked, until her mother died. And for the first time, she needed him to be strong for her, to hold her, to be the anchor. And he could not do it. He told her he was going to make mistakes, that he might cheat, that she could either wait for him or leave, but he would not take responsibility for the choice. And she realized something then, that if she stayed, she would disappear completely, that she had been disappearing for 15 years, but it had been gradual enough that she did not notice, that she had made herself so small, so needless, so endlessly available that there was almost nothing left. And the person she had spent 15 years saving could not save her. Not because he was cruel, because the relationship was not built for that, because she was the ambulance and he was the patient. And ambulances do not ask patients to drive. She ended the relationship, called off the wedding that was 4 months away. And when people asked her about herself, about who she was, she realized she did not know, that she had spent so long being someone's solution that she had forgotten to be a person, that she was 32 years old and just beginning to meet herself. But that realization did not come from nowhere. It started much earlier. Her mother was an alcoholic. From the time she was a child, she was the one managing, marking bottles to track consumption, hiding alcohol, replacing it with water, taking her mother to AA meetings when she was still in school. She parentified herself because no one else would, and she learned very young that her value was in utility, that love was conditional on usefulness, that if she could just fix her mother, then maybe she would matter. But you cannot fix alcoholism by being a good daughter. You cannot save someone who does not want to be saved. And the mother drank until she died. And the daughter, even at the end, felt like she had failed, that she had not done enough, that if she had been better, smarter, more persistent, maybe her mother would have lived. This is the wound. And the wound does not heal. It just redirects. She could not save her mother, so she spent 15 years trying to save someone else. And when that ended, she immediately looked for the next person who needed her. This is what psychologists call parentification. It is what happens when a child is forced to become a parent to their own parent, when they manage emotions that are too big for them, when they take responsibility for stability they should not have to provide. And the child learns that love is earned through caretaking, that their worth is measured by how well they manage other people's pain, that their own needs are secondary, that asking for help is weakness, that being needed is the same as being loved. And this wiring does not go away when you grow up. It just gets more sophisticated. You choose partners who need fixing. You choose friendships where you are the therapist. You choose careers in helping professions. And you are good at it. You genuinely help. But the motivation is not generosity. It is compulsion. It is the need to recreate a dynamic where your worth is proven through usefulness, where love is something you earn by being indispensable. Holden Caulfield's parentification was different but no less real. When Ali died, Holden became responsible for protecting an innocence that was already gone. No one asked him to do this, but children in grief often make these bargains with themselves. If I am vigilant enough, if I watch carefully enough, if I stand at the right edge, maybe no one else will fall. maybe I can prevent what I could not prevent before, and the bargain becomes identity. Holden is not just someone who wants to help children. He is the catcher. It is who he is. And without that mission, he does not know how to exist. And this is where Holden and Prometheus begin to look the same. Prometheus did not steal fire because the gods asked him to. He saw humanity suffering and decided he would fix it. He made himself the solution to a problem no one appointed him to solve. And Holden does the same thing. He sees innocence at risk and appoints himself the guardian. Neither of them were asked. Neither of them were needed in the way they needed to be needed. They chose the mission, or the mission chose them. And the choice, once made, became permanent. Because here is what happens when you make saving people your identity. You cannot stop, even when the cost becomes unbearable, even when the punishment is eternal. Because if you stop, then who are you? Prometheus chained to a rock, liver being eaten, could have begged for mercy, could have apologized, could have renounced the mission, but he did not, because the mission was not really about humanity. It was about him, about being the one who mattered, about being indispensable, and giving that up would have been worse than the eagle. The woman discovered this when she met someone new, someone who did not need saving, someone who was stable, functional, happy. And her first reaction was discomfort. She kept asking him if he was sure he was okay, if there was not some hidden problem she could help with, if there was not something broken she could fix, because being with someone who did not need her meant confronting the question she had been avoiding her entire life. If I am not saving you, why would you want me? And this is the cruelest part of the compulsive savior's trap. You can save someone. You can pull them out of the worst moments of their life. You can be the reason they survive. And they will be grateful. They will thank you. They will tell you they could not have done it without you. But they will not love you, not the way you need to be loved, because love requires equality. And you chose hierarchy. You made yourself the savior and them the saved. And that dynamic, once established, does not reverse. This is not cruelty on their part. It is structure. When someone sees you at your absolute strongest while they are at their absolute weakest, a debt is created. An unpayable debt. And debt is not love. Gratitude is not love. Admiration is not love. Love requires being seen as you actually are, vulnerable and uncertain and sometimes weak and being wanted anyway. But you never showed them that person. You only showed them the savior. And you cannot love a savior. You can only be grateful to one. The woman discovered this when her partner could not support her after her mother died, not because he was incapable of support, because the relationship had no infrastructure for it. It was built for one-way rescue. She was the strong one. He was the struggling one. And when she needed strength, there was no template for how that could work. The roles were fixed, and when she tried to step out of her role, the relationship collapsed, and this is where we return to Prometheus. Because Prometheus, chained to the rock, had a choice every single day. He could have asked Zeus for forgiveness, could have admitted the presumption, could have acknowledged that maybe humanity did not need him as much as he needed to be needed. But he did not. He endured the punishment, and maybe, at some point, the punishment became easier than the alternative. Because the alternative was admitting that the mission was optional, that he was not actually indispensable, that the world would have continued without him. And this is what modern saviors do not realize until it is too late, that the people you save will eventually save themselves, or they will not. But either way, it is not actually about you. You are not as necessary as you think. And discovering this is devastating, because if you are not necessary, then what was all the sacrifice for? What was all the pain for? What was the point of chaining yourself to the rock if humanity did not actually need you there? Holden Caulfield never becomes the catcher in the rye. The novel ends with him in a psychiatric hospital. The fantasy remains a fantasy. He does not save anyone. He does not even save himself. He just narrates his own collapse with painful self-awareness. He knows he is falling. He knows the fantasy is a fantasy. But knowing does not stop it. Understanding your own mechanisms does not free you from them. You can see the trap clearly and still be caught in it. And this is what makes compulsive saving so difficult to escape. Because it is not ignorance. It is not lack of insight. Saviors often have brutal self-awareness. They can describe their own patterns with clinical precision. They know they are avoiding themselves. They know the mission is a deflection. They know they are regenerating just to give everything away again. But knowing does not stop the compulsion, because the compulsion is not intellectual. It is survival. It is the thing they learned to do when they were too young to choose differently. And even now, as adults, even with full awareness, stopping feels like dying. Prometheus gave fire to humanity and was chained to a rock. Every day the eagle came. Every night the liver regenerated. And this went on for thousands of years until Heracles finally freed him. But here is the question the myth does not answer. What did Prometheus do after he was freed? What does someone do when the punishment ends, but the pattern remains? Because the pattern is the real prison. The liver regenerating is not the punishment. The punishment is that you keep calling the eagle back, that you keep finding people who need saving, that you keep making yourself indispensable because being ordinary, being equal, being someone who sometimes needs help, that is more terrifying than being consumed. The woman, after ending her 15-year relationship, had to learn this, that being with someone who did not need her was harder than being with someone who did, because it required showing him who she actually was, not the savior, not the strong one, not the one with all the answers, just someone who was tired and scared and had spent 32 years avoiding her own pain by managing everyone else's. And slowly, painfully, she began to discover something, that people can want you for who you are, not what you provide. That love is not transactional. That you do not have to earn the right to exist. But believing this requires facing everything you avoided by saving others. The fear that you are not enough. The wound that says you only matter when you are useful. The emptiness that opens up when you stop filling it with someone else's crisis. This is the work. Not learning to set boundaries. Not learning to say no. Those are skills and they matter. But they are not the core. The core is asking why you became a savior in the first place. What you are avoiding by being indispensable. What you are afraid will happen if you stop. And the answer is usually the same. You are afraid you will disappear. That without the mission, there is no you. That the savior is not a role you play, but the only self you have. And confronting that is harder than any rescue you have ever performed. Because you can save someone else with your skills, with your competence, with your ability to manage crisis. But saving yourself requires sitting with vulnerability you have spent your entire life avoiding. It requires admitting you need help, that you do not have all the answers, that you are not fine, that the strength you show everyone else is a performance, and the person behind the performance is frightened and small, and desperately needs someone to catch them. But here is the paradox. The moment you admit you need help, you stop being the savior. And if you are not the savior, who are you? This is the cliff Holden Caulfield cannot face. This is the regeneration that keeps Prometheus chained. This is why the woman kept choosing partners who needed her, because the alternative was scarier than any crisis. The alternative was being seen as you actually are, vulnerable, uncertain, human. And if people see that, will they stay? Or will they leave the moment you stop being useful? And the brutal answer, the one that compulsive saviors eventually discover, is that some people will leave. The ones you saved will leave. Because they did not sign up for mutual support. They signed up for rescue. And when you stop rescuing, the relationship has no foundation. This is not cruelty, it is structure. You built something asymmetrical, and asymmetry does not suddenly become balanced. It just collapses. So you lose people when you stop saving them. You lose the identity you built. You lose the purpose that kept you going. And what you gain is harder to name. It is not happiness. It is not peace. It is something quieter and more ambiguous. It is the possibility of being known, of being loved not for what you do, but for who you are, of building relationships where both people can fall and both people can catch, where the cliff is not yours or theirs, but something you stand at together. But that requires something most saviors have never done. It requires letting someone save you. And that is the hardest thing, because it means admitting you need saving, that you are not fine, that the liver regenerating every night does not make you whole. It just makes you functional enough to be consumed again. And maybe, just maybe, you deserve to stop being consumed, to let the wound stay closed long enough to actually heal, to say no to the eagle, to break the chain yourself instead of waiting for Heracles. The woman, with her new partner who did not need rescuing, had to practice this. Every time he asked what she needed, her first instinct was to say nothing, because need was what other people had, not her. But slowly, she began to answer honestly, to say I am struggling, to say I do not know, to say I need you to just listen, not fix anything. And it was terrifying. Every time she showed weakness, she waited for him to leave, to be disappointed, to realize she was not who he thought she was. And some people did leave. The ones who needed a savior found someone else. But he stayed, not because she saved him, because he chose her. And being chosen without having to earn it was so unfamiliar that it felt like a trick, like he would realize his mistake and leave. But he kept staying. And slowly, painfully, she began to understand that love and rescue are not the same thing. Holden never learns this. The catcher in the rye does not give him that arc. He remains frozen, still the catcher, still standing at an imaginary cliff, still unable to admit that the children he wants to save are not in danger. He is, and the cliff is not out there. It is inside him, and he has been running from it since Ali died, and the running has become his entire life. And stopping would mean grieving, actually grieving, not intellectualizing grief, not analyzing it, not turning it into a mission, just feeling it. And that is more terrifying than any fall. Prometheus, after being freed by Heracles, still carried the memory of the rock. Some versions of the myth say he wore a ring made from the stone he was chained to, a reminder. And maybe that is the honest ending, that even after the chains break, you carry the pattern, the instinct to give until there is nothing left, the reflex to position yourself at someone else's crisis, the discomfort with being ordinary, with being human, with needing help. But carrying the pattern is different from being controlled by it. The woman, now in a relationship where she is not the savior, still has the instinct. When her partner mentions a problem, her first response is still to fix it. But she has learned to pause, to ask if he wants help or just wants to be heard, to let him solve his own problems, to trust that he is capable. And this restraint, this choosing not to save when saving is what you do best, is its own kind of courage. Because it means facing the emptiness that saving filled. When you are not saving someone, what are you doing? When you are not needed urgently, what is your purpose? When you are not holding someone together, what holds you together? These questions do not have comfortable answers, and most people who ask them find that the answers are quiet and ordinary, and not particularly heroic. You are reading, you are walking, you are existing without crisis, and that is enough. Not thrilling, not meaningful in the way rescue feels meaningful, just enough. And for someone who has spent their entire life believing they only matter when they are saving someone, enough feels like nothing, like disappearing, like the death of the self. But it is not death. It is just the first time you are living without constantly regenerating energy to give away. The first time the liver heals all the way instead of just enough to be consumed again. So can you save others without forgetting yourself? The question assumes that saving and selfhood are compatible, that you can be the savior and still be a person. But maybe that is the wrong assumption. Maybe being the savior requires forgetting yourself. Maybe that is the transaction. You get to matter. You get to be needed. You get to feel indispensable. And in exchange, you give up being known, being vulnerable, being human. And for a long time, that trade feels worth it, because mattering feels better than being ordinary. Being needed feels safer than being loved. Being indispensable feels more secure than being equal. But eventually, if you are lucky, you realize the trade is a trap, that you sold yourself for a mission that was never yours to begin with, that the people you saved did not ask to be saved, that you appointed yourself to a position no one was hiring for, and the cost of that appointment was everything. Prometheus stole fire from the gods. He was punished eternally. His liver regenerated every night so the punishment could continue every day. And we are told this is a story about sacrifice, about a hero who gave everything for humanity. But maybe it is a different story. Maybe it is about someone who made himself indispensable because being ordinary was unbearable, who chose eternal punishment over admitting he was not actually needed, who regenerated not to heal but to continue, because continuing was the only identity he had. And if that is the story, then the question is not whether you can save others without forgetting yourself. The question is whether you want to remember yourself badly enough to stop saving, whether you are willing to let the liver heal all the way, whether you are brave enough to break the chains yourself, whether you can bear to be ordinary instead of extraordinary, human instead of hero, fallible instead of indispensable. The woman is still learning. The partner who does not need rescuing is still beside her. And some days it feels natural, and some days it feels like being lost, like she is failing at the one thing she was always good at. But she is learning that being good at rescuing is not the same as being good at living, that mattering to someone in crisis is not the same as mattering to someone in peace, that being chosen is different from being needed. And chosen, it turns out, is harder, because you cannot earn it. You cannot control it. You can only be yourself and hope that is enough. Holden Caulfield stays in the hospital, still narrating, still unable to move, the catcher in the rye who never catches anyone. the savior who could not save himself. And maybe that is the most honest ending, because not everyone escapes, not everyone learns. Some people see the trap clearly and stay in it anyway, because the trap is familiar. And familiar, when you have spent your whole life there, feels like home. But for those who do escape, for those who finally let the liver heal, there is something waiting on the other side. Not happiness, not peace, not the feeling of being extraordinary, just the quiet knowledge that you are here, not saving anyone, not being saved, just existing, ordinary, fallible, human, and for the first time in your life, that is enough. The eagle does not come back. The liver stays whole. The chains stay broken. And you are not Prometheus. You are not the catcher in the rye. You are not anyone's savior. You are just someone who learned, slowly and painfully, that being human is not a punishment, that needing help is not weakness, that love without debt is possible, and that the mission you spent your whole life on was never the mission you needed. The mission was always turning around, facing yourself, and learning that the person who needed saving the most was the one you were running from all along.